His hand braced against the metal wall behind me, the other gripping my waist, not tight, just steady, like he knew I might change my mind. I didn't. I should have, but I didn't. There was barely space to breathe in that stall. I remember the sharp scent of industrial cleaner, the faint chill of air blowing from a broken ceiling vent. He didn't speak, just moved. I felt the wall rattle behind me when he shifted closer. His belt was undone, but still hanging the buckle cold when it brushed against my thigh. My own jeans were around one ankle, caught on the heel of my boot, and I didn't bend down to fix it. He was taller than me, broader. When he leaned in my back, pressed hard into the stall latch, I thought it might pop open. I didn't care. He moved deeper, slower than I expected, like he didn't want to break me, like he thought I hadn't already broken myself, and I let it happen, fully, with everything in me that still wanted to feel real. It had been 6 months since I last touched someone like that, since anyone looked at me like I wasn't made of cardboard. And the worst part, he wasn't a stranger. He was someone I wasn't even supposed to be alone with. I met him through my sister, at a cookout. He was her husband's nephew. Not by blood, but close enough. She'd joked about his looks. I'd rolled my eyes. He was 25. I was 39. Back then, I didn't think much of him, cocky, impatient, always scrolling his phone. But over time, something changed. The way he'd hold eye contact too long. The way he'd stop talking whenever I entered a room. I told myself it was nothing, until he asked for a ride home that one afternoon. That's when this started, or maybe earlier. Maybe the moment I stopped feeling like a wife or a woman or anything except someone people walked past. I don't know what he saw in me. Maybe he didn't see anything. Maybe he just knew I wouldn't say no. He touched my face after in the stall, just 2 fingers lightly tracing the edge of my jaw. Then he pulled away like he hadn't done anything wrong, and I just stood there, jeans still half off, heart racing like a thief. There was a red sign on the back of the stall door. Do not flush sanitary products. I stared at it while I fixed myself. The light overhead flickered twice. We didn't say a word when we walked out. He went left. I went right. But I haven't stopped shaking since. What would you do if someone half your age made you feel more alive in 5 minutes than your husband had in 5 years? Because I still don't know if it was desire or just desperation. If you've ever let something happen that you swore you wouldn't, and then felt like you couldn't stop thinking about it after you're not the only one. Like and subscribe. There's more than one way to be lost. I sat at the kitchen table with my hands wrapped around a mug I didn't drink from. The clock on the stove blinked 6:03. I'd meant to fix it weeks ago. The refrigerator hummed steadily. The floor creaked every few minutes, expanding wood or old pipes I never knew which. He hadn't texted. He hadn't called. I didn't expect him to, but I checked my phone 5 times anyway. I'd told my husband I was going to the store, pick up more coffee filters, maybe some half and half. He hadn't looked up from the news. This was before the bathroom. A week before. It was just the first time he got into my car. He didn't ask me any questions, didn't make jokes. He just watched me in the rearview mirror like he was waiting for something to happen. At a red light, I asked if he was seeing anyone. He laughed, not because it was funny, but because he was surprised. I said it like a joke. He knew it wasn't. I parked outside his apartment. He didn't get out right away. His hand brushed mine when he reached for the door handle. It lingered, that was all. And it stayed with me for days. I folded laundry thinking about it, stirred soup thinking about it. I wondered if I imagined it. I wondered if he knew I hadn't pulled away. 3 days later, I was at a rest stop with the engine still ticking under the hood, and I was letting him close the stall door behind us. And now I was here, kitchen light flickering above, coffee gone cold. My husband walked in wearing his beige robe, scratched his head, asked if I had work today. I nodded. He kissed the top of my head and said, "Love you." I didn't say it back. I stared at the tile behind the sink and thought, this is how it starts. Not with a decision, not with a kiss, with silence, with not saying no. There was a picture of us on the fridge, from a trip 5 years ago. I hadn't noticed until then that the magnet holding it had cracked. A small diagonal fracture barely visible. I didn't fix it. That same day, I wiped the bathroom mirror and stared at myself so long, I forgot what I was looking for. Do you know what it's like to feel completely wrong in your own life and not be able to explain why I couldn't even say it was about him? It was about needing someone to look at me and see anything. And he did. I remember asking myself that night if I let this go further. What kind of person does that make me? I didn't answer. The kitchen light flickered once, then again, and I didn't move to fix it. We saw each other next in the narrow hallway behind the staff room, the one where the breaker panel buzzed faintly and the carpet never lay flat. He was dropping off a book, not even one I'd assigned, just something he knew I liked. Something I'd mentioned weeks ago, half distracted while talking about character motivation. The hall smelled like old paper and stale instant coffee. The overhead light blinked once, then steadied. We stood too close. I didn't step back. He handed me the book, but didn't let go. His fingers barely brushed mine. But they held. Long enough for it not to be polite anymore. I said, "Thanks." He didn't say anything. He just tilted his head like he was reading something behind my eyes. I swallowed too hard, stepped sideways instead of back. My shoulder touched his chest. I heard myself say, "Don't do that." But my voice was flat, not firm, not convincing. He let go of the book. We were still in the same hallway, still within earshot of anyone coming through the back door, and I wasn't moving. That was the worst part. I wasn't moving. I looked up. He looked down, and then someone opened the supply closet across the way, and we both jumped like we'd been electrocuted. He stepped away first, too fast, too guilty. I smoothed my sweater and pretended to look for a pen. He left without saying anything else. I stood there 10 more seconds. Then I went to the bathroom and sat on the closed toilet seat with the door locked and asked myself, am I waiting for him to make the next move, so I won't have to own it? Do I even care if he does? The light in that bathroom was dimmer than the one in my kitchen, but it still flickered. The buzzing got louder if I leaned back against the door. And I did. I leaned back, closed my eyes, saw his face again. Not smiling, just there. The way he looked at me wasn't like someone who wanted to play a game. It was someone who saw me. I didn't know what to do with that. I went home and made dinner. He texted 2 hours later. Just a period. That was it. I stared at it for 5 full minutes. Then I typed and deleted it. Typed what? And deleted that too. Then I turned off the phone and put it face down on the counter. The fluorescent light above me buzzed, then dimmed again. I still didn't fix it. It happened in the stall. The far one, the one with the loose latch and the soap dispenser that always leaked down the side of the metal wall. I wasn't expecting him. I stayed late to close up, and the rest of the staff had already left. It was one of those nights where the quiet felt thicker than usual, like the whole building had turned in on itself. I didn't hear the main door open, just the soft click of the bathroom handle behind me. I thought it was Janine coming back for her bag. I called out her name. No answer. Then I heard the stool next to mine creak. My chest tightened. I reached for my phone, but it wasn't in my pocket. The light buzzed, flickered. Then his voice, quiet, careful. It's just me. I didn't speak. He knocked once, just once, on the side of my stall. Not hard, not soft, like punctuation. I shouldn't be here, he said. I still didn't speak. I opened the latch. He stepped in. The stall was too small for 2 people. His shoulder brushed mine just by breathing. He closed the door behind him, held it shut with one hand, and then he kissed me. Not rough, not hesitant, just full, like he'd been holding his breath for days. I didn't push him away. My hand was on his chest, and I just stayed there, feeling his heart thump like a warning. He pulled me tighter, his hands on my lower back. Mine on the tiled wall. The stall door shuddered once. It should have felt disgusting. It should have felt ridiculous. 2 people squeezed in a half-lit bathroom stall, but all I could think was, I don't want to leave this space. I let him press me back. I let him move down my neck. My eyes closed without asking. His breath was warm, fast. I didn't tell him to stop. I didn't whisper his name. I didn't even think about the age difference. I thought about the fact that no one had looked at me like that in years. Like I was the end of a sentence. His mouth slowed, then stopped. He looked at me like he wasn't sure if we'd actually done anything. We had. I straightened my sweater, fixed my hair. He stayed still, one hand still braced against the wall. His head bowed like he was waiting for me to speak first. I didn't. I opened the stall door, walked out, didn't look back. But my hand was trembling as I reached for the sink. I turned on the water too hard, and it splashed my shirt. I didn't blot it dry. I let the wet patch stay there. I looked at myself in the mirror. Same face, different shadow. And I thought, what am I going to do if he thinks this means more than it should? Or worse, what if it does? He didn't show up the next day, or the day after. I told myself that was a good thing. That maybe it was just a moment he slipped into something messy and fast and stupid, like pulling the wrong fire alarm. But by Thursday, I was standing in the break room, hand gripping the counter, trying not to stare at the security monitor, just to catch if he'd walk by outside. I'd put on lipstick that morning, just a bit, then rubbed most of it off with a tissue before even getting out of the car. I wasn't proud of that. Friday night I stayed after close to organize the returns, a task that didn't need to be done really, but kept me near the door. Just in case. He didn't come. I kept thinking about that moment in the mirror. How I looked at myself, not in horror, not in guilt, but like I was waiting for someone to tell me what to do next. The stall door hadn't even locked properly. I kept imagining if someone else had come in, if the janitor had walked by, if a child had wandered in looking for their parent. And the worst part. The part I can't tell anyone I didn't care in the moment. That's what's eating me now. I keep seeing my own hand on the wall, the way my head tilted back like someone else's, the way I didn't say no, not even once. Does it still count as a mistake if part of you wanted to be caught? Saturday morning he came. I saw him through the side window. His sweatshirt was half-zipped, his hair damp like he'd just showered but hadn't dried properly. I wasn't ready. I opened the back door before he could ring the bell. He stood there mouth parting like he didn't expect me to actually answer. I forgot the paperback, he said, holding up a slip of paper like it meant something. The one on Whitman, I didn't call him out. I just stepped aside. He followed me in. Neither of us spoke in the hallway. His footsteps were heavier than usual. Or maybe I just noticed them more. The break room smelled like burnt coffee. The clock made that faint buzzing sound again, like it always did when the battery was low. It hadn't stopped since Monday. He leaned against the counter, arms crossed. "You okay?" I didn't answer. I just stood near the coat rack, pretending to check my phone. He shifted. "We don't have to." I know I cut in. "We're not." But my voice didn't sound convincing. It sounded like I was quoting someone I didn't believe. He didn't move closer, but I could feel the space shrinking again, like the stall all over. "Do you regret it?" he asked quietly. That question, it made something crack under my skin. Not because I did, but because I didn't. And I should have. I looked at him for a long time before I said anything. Then softly, "It's not about regret, it's about who I thought I was." He blinked. Just once, then nodded. Like that made sense. The hum of the fridge kicked on, filling the silence. I stared at the handle of the cabinet. His fingers had touched it once weeks ago when he made coffee and spilled some without wiping it up. The stain was still there. I didn't wipe it off either. Maybe I shouldn't come by for a while, he said. Maybe. Neither of us moved, and I thought if I say nothing now he might walk out, and I'll get to keep pretending none of this mattered. But if I ask him to stay, then I'm not confused. I'm complicit. He turned to go, and I watched him walk to the door without calling his name. I told myself I was choosing the right thing, but I couldn't ignore how loud the hallway felt once the door clicked shut. I didn't see him for over a week, not in the aisles, not on the cameras, not even parked nearby. That kind of silence isn't peaceful. It scrapes against you like you're wearing something tight and invisible, and no one else notices you struggling to breathe. Every time I passed the staff restroom, I felt it again. The way the lock didn't quite click, the faint hum of the vent above, the smell of industrial soap that didn't mask anything. Every time the bulb in the hallway flickered, I'd flinch a little. I started leaving earlier, but walking slower to my car, like maybe if I stalled long enough I'd run into him again by accident. But accidents don't wait for you. They happen once. Then you're left pacing the parking lot in a coat you didn't zip all the way up just to feel the cold. That Tuesday, it rained. I closed alone. The air smelled like wet carpet and old cardboard. The delivery guys had left a bin out by the back entrance, some box of donated books with a broken lid. I hauled it in, grumbling to myself, and when I turned around I saw him. Not walking, just standing in the shadows between two lampposts, hood up, hands in his jacket pockets. He didn't move. Neither did I. I should have gone back inside, locked the door, turned off the light, acted like a grown-up. Instead, I stepped toward him, and he stepped out. "Hey," he said, barely audible over the rain. "You can't be here," I said. "I know." We stood in it, not just the rain, but all of it. The mess, the unsaid, the fact that it wasn't over just because we wanted it to be. "You left," I said. "You didn't ask me to stay." That one hit harder than I expected. I looked at the puddle forming near my boots. The way the light caught the water made it shimmer like glass. But it wasn't beautiful. It just looked fragile. He stepped closer. One more inch, and I'd feel him again. The warmth, the pressure, the wrongness. I couldn't do it. Or maybe I could, but I didn't want to know. "You shouldn't," I started. But he interrupted. "Tell me you didn't feel anything." I didn't answer. He moved past me, not touching, not saying goodbye, just brushing by like a current you don't fight because it's too fast. He got in his car. The engine coughed, then turned over. The headlights washed over the pavement, over me, over the bin of books that was still leaking onto the concrete. I didn't wave. I didn't speak. I just stood there, blinking into the light until he pulled away. The silence that followed wasn't heavy. It was worse than that. It was empty. A week later, I replaced the flickering bulb in the hallway, but every time I walk past that stall, I still glance at the door like I expect it to open. He gave me something I hadn't felt in years, but the moment I let him in, I became someone I can't explain to myself.